Ms. Gray, we can begin when you're ready. One moment while we get Ms. Gray back into the meeting platform.
Where is she?
Okay, great. We may proceed.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning.
Morning, Terry. Okay, I've got to get this live thing off of here. There we go. Good morning, everyone. Are we ready, Terry?
Yes, let me
All right.
begin. This meeting is being conducted virtually, so I will do a roll call of the trustees to confirm attendance. Mr. Knox,
Good morning, I'm here.
Mr. Santos, Mr. Santos,
Here.
Mr. Bernstein,
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Mr. Sanchez, Mr. Moore,
Here.
Mr. Kehoe,
I'm present.
Ms. Zapanta, Mr. Pryor, Mr. Harris, Chair Robbins is not in attendance. Vice Chair Gray.
Good morning.
Staff participating in the meeting include CEO Santos Kryman, DCEO Louis Lugo, AEOs JJ Popowich and Laura Guglielmo, Chief Counsel Stephen Rice, Legislative Affairs Officer Barry Liu, from Retiree Healthcare, Cassandra Smith, Director, and Kathy Magida, consultants Stephen Murphy, Richard Ward, Michael Zito, Stephanie Messier from Siegel. Trustees, please use the Zoom chat option to be placed in queue. At this time, we ask all meeting participants to mute your mics until you are ready to speak, and we may now proceed with the agenda.
Good morning, everyone. Calling to order the meeting of the Insurance Benefits and Legislative Committee. It is February 2nd. It is now 8:08 or 8:06. All right. The first item on our agenda for today is the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of the January 5th, 2022 meeting. Is there a motion?
I'll move it.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am. Sir.
since there is, I go by either one. Since I'm the alternate and I'm voting right now because
Yes,
we
you
have
are.
some ups. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you. In Mr. Robbins' absence, Mr. Herman Santos, our alternate, will be voting today. Thank you. So, Terry, do you want to take a roll call of the votes for the approval of the minutes?
Yes, Mr. Kehoe,
I'm an aye.
Mr. Moore,
Aye.
Mr. Santos,
Yes,
Vice Chair Gray.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously.
All right. Item 2, public comment. Terry, have we received any public comment requests?
We have received no requests.
All right. And going on to item 3, this is an action item. It is actually, it's recommended by Cassandra Smith, our Director of Retiree Healthcare, that the committee recommend the Board of Retirement, 1, approve the fiscal year 2022-2023 rate renewal proposal and mandatory contractual changes. It's listed by the carrier and the administrative fee, and 2, increase the administrative fee to $10 per member per plan per month. There is a memorandum that was dated January 27th, 2022. Also, additionally, in your supplemental items, there is a comparison that was submitted between the rate of $8 versus $10 and its effect. However, I believe Cassandra or Luis Lugo or Mr. Santos Kryman may have comment on this.
Yes, I'll defer to Mr. Lugo.
Yes, good morning, Chair Gray and committee members. We wanted to bring this action item as an action item, but actually more now informational. The memo outlines the renewal rate and overall increase with a $10 administrative fee. We realized that we want to collaborate and partner with our county partners in terms of agreeing upon a administrative fee rate. So what we wanted to provide the committee today is really a base range of what the overall renewal rate increase would be if we stayed at $8 per member per plan per month, which is a 1% overall increase, or if we raise the administrative fee to $10, which would equate to an overall renewal rate of 1.3. We have not landed on an actual agreed upon administrative fee rate with the county. So we were a little bit premature in our action item request for this particular, for the IBL. So what we ask is that we provide informational range of what we would look at negotiating with the county over the next month, and then bring this to the BOR in March with an agreed upon administrative fee rate, which will then give us an overall rate renewal. With that, Cassandra and I will stand for question.
Well, I would move at this time, but I'm sorry, Mr. Santos has a question.
Yes, ma'am, and a request, if we can review the changes being proposed to the different plans. I believe is not substantial, but I want to hear from staff and consultant that is no major or material change to the plans. And also, I agree that if there's any way that staff can work with the county to maintain the current fee, you know, cost of living in this area is now running at 6.5% or thereabouts. And the retirees, depending on where they are at, either going to get either 3% or 2%. What I'm saying is where they are at, meaning the plan, right? Plan A, Plan B, Plan D. Yeah, if in your comments you can incorporate all that, I'd really appreciate it, because it's, to me, is troublesome.
Mr. Santos, based on what Mr. Lugo just stated, and also the supplemental material that was submitted, I would at this time, and also based on what you've said, I would move that we send this item back to staff, number one, to vet with the county, and perhaps be able to answer your questions.
Yeah, I didn't hear a second, but I'll jump in here. We are prepared to talk and make a presentation about the contents that were included in the board memo in terms of the rate renewal. The admin fee is really the area that the county and LACERA still need to discuss. I did receive correspondence from the county that they're okay with the rate renewal. That did include a 10% admin fee, so that's something that we are going to have to go back. So you have the upper end of the cost, and then you have the current cost, which is the document that was sent over late yesterday. So there's been changes at the county side in terms of what the process is. The individuals that were there before on the admin fee side are no longer there. And so there was some miscommunication, quite frankly, on my part in terms of what needed to be done and how to proceed. And so that's why we're asking for a defer, for you to refer this back to us. We do have a deadline that we need to meet. And so we can discuss things now and then refer the item back. And then we have to bring it back to the full Board of Retirement. And Cassandra, I think, can talk a little bit more about what that deadline is, if you would like.
Yes. So we have asked the county to get back to us by February 18th in order for us to take it to the full board for approval, which will then still allow us time to go out to print and do all the things that we need to do, because by law, we have to have everything out to the participants within 30 days of the change. So we're cutting it close as far as printing and getting it out timely to the members.
I have a question.
Mr. Moore.
Yeah, so the only thing we're talking about that's unresolved then is the administrative fee.
Correct.
That's the only thing. There's going to be an administrative fee. It's just whether it's 8.1% or 10.2% or whatever that number is. And that's not a final number yet.
Correct.
So that means 99% of what we have in front of us has already been vetted and agreed upon. So in theory, we could approve this subject to the final administrative fee agreement.
Correct.
In theory, I'm not making that proposal, but I'm just out trying to make sure I know the landscape.
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
Okay.
Well, then if you are prepared to do the presentation on the various contractual changes minus the issue with respect to the administrative fees, we could possibly hear that, approve or disapprove that at this time. However, you do have a deadline, so we do have to present it to the full board. I think that perhaps, and I don't know how you feel about this, Cassandra, would it be better to make a presentation now or make a presentation at our next board meeting to approve both the changes and also the administrative fee?
I'm comfortable either way. We can address if you had specific questions with regard to the renewal, but overall, we had a great renewal as usual, like we did last year. Even if we do not increase the lifetime max, the increase was 1%. So, I mean, for a retiree population, that's outstanding. The changes that you are seeing or mentioned in the report has no bearing on the premiums itself. These are benefit changes that the carriers are providing, none that are financially impactful to our program.
This is Sean. I'd like to comment.
John,
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Mr.
I
Kehoe?
said this. Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to comment two things. One, I appreciate staff's hard work on this. This is really great numbers. I mean, the overall rate increase is really very tiny, and I appreciate the hard work on it in a time that could have been difficult. Regarding the fees, just to clarify, if staff could clarify, is when somebody has 25 years or more, the fees are paid for by the county, correct? It's not paid for by the member. And the only time that a fee would be passed on partially would be when they have less than 25 years. So if you could clarify that for me. And then, is that correct?
That is correct.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I just want to clarify for Mr. Santos' comments. I concur. We definitely don't want to pass on costs to members, and we want to be cognizant of that. But I think for the most part, the fees are going to be paid for on the county side, which is why, of course, the county wants to discuss it a little further. That being said, I think we have a simple solution to the issue here. I would like to motion that we simply move this item onto the Board of Retirement without comment. And then that way it allows staff to bring it to the full board, and then we could have it presented to us at the full board if there's any questions. So that's my motion. Move to the full board without comment.
I second that.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Mr. Santos, did you have additional comment?
No, I want to thank Mr. Kehoe for that clarification. I think that was really key. I was concerned that we were going to pass on the increases to the members, but I think that the fact that 25 years versus less than 25 years, that I get that. Thank you very much for that. If you can just make a brief comment with regards to the contractual changes. I mean, did I understand you correctly that they're very immaterial?
Well, before we do that, the motion on the floor is to move everything to the full board. However, there are two parts to this particular thing. We're going to move the approval of the changes. Is that what you're suggesting, Mr. Kehoe?
No.
Or is it only the fee?
No. So I think it's pretty simple as far as what will allow us to do in the next board meeting. We just move the entire item as it's written to the full board, and then staff could make amendments to that $10 if they choose to do so. Decide to keep it at 8 or move it to 9 or move it to 10, they would leave those comments, and then the full board would have the authority to adopt whatever changes, or frankly to override staff if that's the case. But we would
That makes it
Basically
simple.
approve the item.
Very well. It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Murphy?
Just an opportunity to clarify for Trustee Santos. So the plan design changes are incorporated into the overall report. There are a large section of it, but to your point, there are no material changes to the plan designs that would impact the members. And most of the changes are either due to state law or they are enhancements to the programs, particularly like the Medicare Advantage programs, providing meals to retirees returning home from the hospital, fitness programs, life alert bracelets to keep them safe at home, things of that nature. So hopefully that addresses your concerns.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
All right. There's a motion on the floor. It's been moved and seconded. Terry, would you take the roll call?
Mr. Kehoe?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mr. Santos?
Yes.
Vice Chair Gray?
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously.
All right. Item 4 on the agenda, the engagement report for January 2022. Mr. Liu?
Yes, good morning, Vice Chair Gray and committee
Good morning.
trustees. Some items of interest for you this month. So I'm sure you're all aware of CalSavers, is California's state-run auto IRA savings program, and they recently released a year in review of 2021. And so as you can see from a lot of bullet points, a lot of positive features about the plan. The employee participation rate is about 70%, and 95% of savers accepted the auto escalation of their contribution rates from 5 to 6%. And then the assets in the plan have grown 5-fold in the previous year, and the number of savers has more than doubled. And also an illustration of the program's portability is that about 35% of savers show contributions from more than one employer. So I think the program has gone pretty well, and I think they've already had the last phase in of the employers that are required to participate in the program. Although there is a small number of employers that are non-compliant, but there are penalties that are imposed for those employers that don't enroll their employees. So, hopefully those employers will become compliant in the future. And then, nationwide, you can see that the state-run plans have become more and more popular. Recently, there are about 4 states that have adopted various changes: Mississippi, Missouri, Rhode Island, and Virginia. What's interesting is that in the beginning of these state-run plans, most of the states that started adopting these programs were blue states, but as you can see with Mississippi and Missouri, more and more red states are getting into the game as well. The next item is about how COVID has affected pensions for workers without Social Security. So a lot of government employers withdrew from participating in Social Security, including us, LACERA, and LA County, and that was in 1983. The Center for Retirement Research at Boston College recently released an issue brief that examined, how pensions for non-covered workers were affected by the COVID pandemic. And so they found that generally the concern was that it would, have adverse effects, but as we all know, during the last 2 years of the pandemic, a lot of plans exceeded their assumed rates of returns. Tax revenues were up, and government sponsors received stimulus aid, and practically for all plans, their funded ratios improved. So generally, it's been positive. And the CRR also had a projection analysis about, what about future risks on this? But they see that structural headwinds kind of pose little risk to these non-covered plans to pay their promised benefits. And then on the corporate pension side, it appears that practically most of them are almost 100% funded. So Milliman has a pension funding index of the 100 largest corporate defined benefit plans. And so they were about 99.6% funded at the end of 2021. And if you look at the Fortune 1000 companies, their pensions were about 96% funded. So they've had a pretty hot streak on that. In comparison, if you look at the Great Recession back in 2008, these Fortune 1000 plans had fallen from 107% funded to 77% funded. But of course, challenges that all pension plans face are basically rising lifespans, as well as the continuing pace of baby boomer retirements. So, everybody's trying to ensure that they have adequate funding for this. And then lastly, an interesting article in the Wall Street Journal about if you want to become an actuary, odds are you'll fail the test. You know, actuaries are one of our most important partners and stakeholders. And the journal article reports that only about 15% of people taking the test pass the test to become an associate, and then only about 10% pass the test to become a fellow, which can provide larger responsibilities and salaries. Interestingly, it takes generally about 7 to 10 years to become a fellow, but apparently for one person, it took them almost 50 years to become one. And you know, we're also in the era of big data, so a lot of insurers are beginning to hire more data scientists, and some actuarial students are kind of switching to that career path, which kind of has a comparable pay without the need to pass, you know, these complex exams. So again, that concludes my report, and happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions?
Just a quick comment there, Madam Chair. It's wow, I didn't realize how difficult it is. I mean, the state bar pass rate for lawyers is only 30%, I believe is the last number. So 10%, wow, that's huge. Good report. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Cassandra, staff activities report for January 2022.
Yes, only one thing to report. Every year around this time, you know, with taxes, we have to send out a separate 1099 to those members that cover domestic partners, as the federal government does not recognize domestic partnership as a qualified dependent. So those members that cover their domestic partner are responsible for paying the federal tax portion of that premium. And we were able to get out 293 this year. So those have all gone out to those members that are affected that are covering domestic partners. That's it.
Quick question, Cassandra. So if you are married, then the county pays for the taxes
The federal
or
government
takes the taxes.
marry, right? They recognize spouses as a qualified dependent. However, domestic partnership, they do not recognize as qualified dependents. So those members have to pay the federal portion, federal tax portion of the premiums that are paid for their dependent.
And what you send out, the 1099, does that delineate to the retirees how much they have to pay?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Anything else? Any other questions? Okay. We will move on to item C, our LACERA claims experience. Mr. Murphy?
Thank you, Trustee Gray. Before I move on to the experience, I wanted to point out one item in the renewal report that I think is very relevant. Highlighted here because I think it is that important. The overall renewal, again, was, I think, very, very aggressively negotiated, and I think brings some good results, but I don't want it to be lost that Anthem maintains a claim stabilization reserve to provide kind of stability in premium rates over a long period of time. And that stabilization reserve was established when the program was initiated, and ensuring a retiree-only group was a very rare occurrence. Over time, particularly during our watch working with the Blue Cross, we've been trying to maintain that stability reserve at an appropriate level. Based on recent experience, we've negotiated with Anthem to release $25.7 million back to the county, back to LACERA with regard to those funds. And this is an area that we're going to partner with Anthem very closely on in the future as the population migrates from kind of tier 1 to tier 2. And again, all retirees in tier 2 will be Medicare Advantage eligible in order to participate. So again, our goal is to manage that reserve as aggressively as possible to maintain stability, but also ensure that LACERA and the county has access to funds rather than having them tied up with a particular vendor. So just wanted to highlight that element of the renewal as well. Let me move on to the experience report. So again, a standard report organization. Again, the top line illustrates the distribution of premiums and enrollment. And again, I think worthy of note, Anthem Plans has about just under 20,000 retirees covered. Kaiser currently has over 25,000 retirees covered. And then distribution across United Healthcare, Scan, and Cigna is a little bit less, but that'll give you, again, some perspective as you're looking at the renewal report and preparing for the board meeting next month. Overall, in the most recent 12 months, we are seeing return of normalcy to medical claims activity. We're seeing about 6 to 7% increase on the Anthem and Cigna plans, That's probably about normal medical trend rate. Again, typically it outpaces consumer price index almost double, but it does give us a sense that kind of return to normalcy with respect to COVID suppression of services in the past. If we look at this exhibit, this will give you a little deeper view in terms of kind of what's occurring with the Anthem plans. Overall, about a 6% increase period over period. That's 12 months. Per retiree, we've also seen a little bit of a spike with regard to plans 1 and 2, almost an 8% increase. The material in the Kaiser report is a repeat, as we've noted before. They update this experience on a quarterly basis, so I won't delve into that too much at this point in time. With regard to cost drivers, again, high cost claimants are going to have an impact on overall increases. And just a point of note, the experience that we're looking at really will be part of the renewal process for the 2022-23 cycle. So again, it seems like we've got forever, but always taking an eye towards the future. This gives you a sense of kind of what may be a potential driver. The next exhibit is a summary of rebates received, pharmaceutical rebates. And again, kind of slight increase period over period. And then lastly, we'll take a look at dental and vision experience. Now the increases are significant. Period over period, 17, almost 18% for dental, and almost 21% for vision. Now keep in mind, the current period is being compared to kind of the COVID experience when we had a significant reduction in services. So again, it's not unexpected, and part of the renewal process this year was to work with Cigna to understand that the claim activity level that we're seeing right now still is below the level we saw pre-pandemic. So again, the renewals we negotiated, I think, were quite appropriate. But that's kind of what we're looking at there. So no questions. If there are any questions, please let me know.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
Yeah, in regards to the renewal rates, when we're looking at individual members, I know that we use Blue Cross as our benchmark rate, and I know that Kaiser is creeping up. How close are they to having Kaiser overpass Blue Cross?
Yeah, right now looking at the differential between the Anthem plans 1 and 2, which the benchmark is based off of, and the Kaiser, so this is non-Medicare rates. It's about $131 difference per month. So there's still some gap between where Kaiser is and where Anthem is. So I think we've got a period of time to do that, but it's a great question.
Okay, great, thank you. And the board, that's my next on-rick question, but the board reserves the right to set the benchmark rate plan. Is that correct?
That is our understanding, but I think historically it's been long-term based on plans 1, 2, and prudent buyer.
Yeah, I don't anticipate that, but I just want to be prepared if something were to happen and Kaiser were to increase. I know we'd have a robust discussion about that, but I just wanted to confirm that we reserve the right to set the benchmark rate. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions, comments? All right. Mr. Murphy?
Yeah, no rest for the wicked, huh? All right.
Any federal legislation we should be aware of?
I saw reported this morning that at least from Washington, D.C., I think the Build Back Better initiative in a kind of comprehensive package is probably dead. I'm sure there will be efforts to kind of resurrect some of the pieces to kind of pass some of that legislation, some of which would impact retiree healthcare, but that's to be seen. And I think we can all assess that there's a lot going on in Washington with Supreme Court openings, et cetera. So we'll have to see what happens there. Yeah. More tangibly, the National Public Health Emergency has been extended through April 16. And I think particularly of note is some of the things that I think LACERA staff is dealing with, which is the availability of a COVID-19 over-the-counter tests at no cost. Now that initiative is really applied towards non-Medicare plans. Medicare does not have the ability to kind of reimburse members for those expenses. And so that's been kind of a hole in the program. We've done some analysis working with LACERA and its vendor partners for non-Medicare retirees. Essentially, those over-the-counter tests will be reimbursed through the program at no or minimal cost to the member. However, with respect to the Medicare plans specifically, Cigna, SCAN, and UHC are not extending that benefit to Medicare eligible retirees. Albeit Anthem and Kaiser have elected to do that on their own. So again, there'll be some confusion. I would anticipate that the staff will have to work diligently to educate members and keep them informed of what transpires over the next couple of weeks. Again, the availability of the benefit of those over-the-counter tests at low or no cost is through the public health emergency. So again, April 16th, but again, that could be extended into the future. And that's our federal report.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Any questions or comments about that? All right, thank you. We're moving on to item 5. Are there any items for staff review, Terry?
No, we have nothing.
All right. Item 6, good of the order. Does anyone have anything that they'd like to say at this time? All right. So that brings us to adjournment. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. We are adjourned, and our regular board meeting, Terry, if I'm correct, will start at 9 a.m. It is 8:36, so we can stay on this platform, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. See everyone at a little bit before 9.
I'll have to say, Mr.
All right.
Santos, Herman, I love your new headwear. Looks great. And I could hear every word you said. That was great. Thank you.